Hello, and this is going to be a different video from the other ones, but a conclusion to my Taking a CISSP series as we get to the payoff of the whole thing. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I'm going to pull something quick and get accurate representation of time. With that, while I'm doing that, looking for that, I'm going to briefly talk about what I covered in the last a few videos of the series, and then do an obligatory unboxing of this thing. So here we go. Okay, so we have here start at domain 1. A lot of talk about the CIA triad and risk management. Everything is going to revolve around this one way and one form or another. Understanding those terms is helpful. I'm remembering the day that I took the exam. I made a point to, when I got that paper, is to write those formulas down on that sheet because I was afraid I was going to forget them. May or may not have been helpful, but being that I passed the exam, I imagine it was helpful to a slight degree. Next up, let's see, control types. You won't have to know all the control types. These are going to be the biggest ones, particularly the detective, corrective, and preventive. Compensating kind of comes into play. I don't even remember seeing compensating controls in the questions, but in the real world, you get it. You'll be familiar with that term because there's going to be exceptions to almost everything you want to implement for one reason or another. Understanding the differences between owner, custodian, and user are helpful. I didn't start. I kind of kept it real simple for the useful links. In the first couple of videos I did, and you'll see the progression. Like I even added all this fancy stuff here. But further in, I do consistently mention that the inside cloud security videos were pretty good to follow. Next up in domain 2, we've got asset security. A lot of stuff around the classification of things. Be familiar with the difference between public and private sector classification levels. That tripped me up, especially with the private sector side. Getting familiar with certification, accreditation, and those things are helpful. And the forms of data destruction, those trip me up for sure. I'll include like I said, I'll include more stuff for you. In domain 3, this was the first big one I included all this bunch of stuff in. Being familiar with the different types of DES and the 5 modes it has is helpful. You may or may not see questions related to logical operations. It doesn't hurt. It's not going to be a big one for you just yet. Even little stuff like classifier, that I remember from my Navy days, so it wasn't like super hard to remember those and the difference. Although the fire suppression systems were a little trickier. And like I said, with this domain, particularly the cryptography side, and that goes into the post-exam world, I definitely recommend that book series, Cryptography. I'll talk about that one a lot. It's one of my favorites. In domain 4, you get into the communication and network security and getting familiar with the OSI model and all the different layers. An acronym helps. All people seem to need data processing. Sadly enough, this is one of the few acronyms I don't have a not safe for work acronym or version of. So leave that in the comments, what have you. Different types of network devices and understanding differences too will help. Get familiar with especially the layer 2 protocols, all the I2 tunneling protocol or peer-to-peer tunneling protocol. Those trip me up, but not a deal breaker. The IP classes and RFC 1918. You get familiar with those. You don't need to know. You're not going to get a ton of questions or anything on subnetting. Don't worry about that. It's the big things. And of course, the big interview question I love asking that many people get asked is the 3-way handshake. Be familiar with what that is, and the different types of firewalls. In domain 5, we have identity access management. Yeah, I didn't put as much stuff in here, but this is the one I struggle with the most, especially with all the Kerberos related stuff. I'm still getting a little more wrapping my head around the attack side of things with Kerberos and understanding things from a pen tester's point of view. There's a lot of supplemental labs, whether it be on Hackbox or TryHackMe, that are probably pretty helpful at. You get familiar with the different access control models. I definitely seen those in one form or another, but they were kind of confusing. Um, the stuff with biometric systems is kind of got a little confusing with the false rejection rate and looking at the charts. If you're seeing tables and charts, get comfortable with understanding the different types of authentication. So type 1, something you know; type 2, something you don't have; and then type 3, something you are. Understanding differences and the access control protocols. Definitely, whether it be this domain or the other, in general, if there's a protocol to mention, read up on it, and at least the basics for this exam. Domain 6, we get into security assessment testing, the fun domain as I refer to. Getting into penetration testing and the steps of, I still need to go back and fill that out, but I'll honestly probably just leave that as is. And also understanding Stride. I saw a lot of practice questions related to Stride, and I say practice as in whether it be the mobile app or the book or the books itself. Getting familiar with the different testing modes of understand the difference between black, gray, and white box testing. That's helpful. On to domain 7, the one I probably spend the most time in. There's a lot of stuff I know to remember. Getting familiar with the steps. If there's a process involved with that domain, get familiar with it. And this goes to I say, like, right before the exam, I found some of that stuff. All the stuff I was kind of stuck on, I just started writing it out, like one domain at a time. Like, what can I fill up on one sheet of paper, and just write stuff out. And this is what I did the second time around. So I'd start including notes in there, and yeah, so I'd start including a bunch of notes, domains I cover, and just going down the list, and did that one domain at a time right before the exam, and that was helpful too. Definitely keep an eye on that CISSP subreddit. Don't read too much into the it will get a little discouraging seeing people passing, especially if you're struggling with it. But don't focus on the "hey, I passed." It's focus on the ones especially that mention what they did to pass, and pick up your lowest common denominator. That'll help. Understanding the difference between an event and incident. Alert just tells you of the event or incident. Whether or not it's an incident or just an event is where you do some digging. Let's see. This isn't going to be initially on the exam, but understanding what they are in a broad sense, you're not gonna get like a what was this, what was that. Some of the basics on asset management or with vault management and baselining. I don't think I talked about baselining in that domain, but basically what that means is if you're building out systems, especially in sysadmin land, you want to build a standardized system, a baseline for lack of a better word, and then that might have some recommended security checks already in place, some things patched already in place, so it's less time to remediate, or you're covering a lot of bases upon building a system and environment before you integrate it. That's what baselining is in a nutshell. Definitely a lot of stuff with business continuity and disaster recovery, and whether it be the planning and things you need to know, or what that looks like. Finally, in domain 8, I get into software dev security and talk about the different things whether it be different programming concepts, with understanding the difference between closed and open source software, and the different development methodology. Also, get familiar with the software capability maturity model. That's helpful. Database keys, you might see. I don't know. I ran into honestly in the practice questions, even maybe a few questions. Not to a point where it asked me all these different keys. Primary, foreign key were the biggest ones I remember in any of the studying I did. With that, that's the domains in a nutshell and what I've covered. I will be adding a few more things to each of those links, whether it be some additional resources. That's all I had. So before I finish this up, we're going to do the obligatory unboxing of this package. Oh, yeah. What I was going to tell you was altogether, this took about, let's see, I scheduled in late March and scheduled the exam to go on in June. So March, June, I took the exam, passed it, and I submitted all my information right away. There were some hiccups with it. So from June to, I got this on August 30th. And yeah, I got this August 30th. Now we're going to open it. So it took altogether 6 months from the time I signed up for the exam to receiving it, and 2 months from the time of passing the exam to receiving the certificate. So if you want a timeline of how long it's going to take for you to, how long it took for me to go from not passing it or scheduling my exam to passing it, is altogether 6 months. I highly recommend people pick a date, throw a date on the calendar, and just take and begin planning for it. Just throw a date on there, because if you're waiting for the optimal time to get ready, you're never gonna feel good enough, ready enough. You're gonna keep second guessing yourself. Throw a date on there. Worst case scenario, you fail and take it again. It's not a life or death thing if you don't pass the exam. Just do the thing. So I've got this open. I wanted to open it carefully because I don't know what's going to be in here. What do I get? What do I? Oh, this is in there. Okay. I'm going to keep opening. They do not make this thing easy. Oh. And cut myself while I do this. There we go. Okay. Here we are. So me. Oh, I'm sick. Go. So I've got my certificate. Oh, that's cool. Got a little card with it too. Got a card. Oh, isn't that cute? A pin. I've got this nifty card here. And a welcome letter. Okay. Welcome to ISC Squared. Congratulations on earning your credential and becoming an ISC Squared member. You are now part of the world's largest nonprofit professional association representing certified cyber, information software, and infrastructure security professionals. I applaud your commitment to excellence in your career development. I'm not going to read the whole thing. That's a lot of stuff to read. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I may add one more video talking about CPE, that whole racket. That's quite a bit. There's a lot. Like I said, there's more stuff to learn after you pass the exam. This is a pamphlet with a bunch of member benefits in it. So I get a fancy card, a nice, moderately sized certificate. I'm glad it's not like a giant one. I get ooh. Oh, here we go. This is the pinnacle. This is it. This is what it's all about. I get a pen, a neat pen. Yeah, check that out. Yeah, I get a pen. It's a silver pen. Well, not like silver, but color silver, metallic, if you will. Yeah. So that's what this is. This is the conclusion of the Takin a CISSP series. I may just, for shits and giggles, add another video on maintaining it. But I've got another set of videos saved for that. Anyway, have happy hunting, studying, and just throw a date on there for the exam. Seriously, it's not that deep. Just throw a date on there. My studying was basically knocking out the test, the practice test through an attrition of questions. So I did all the practice questions in the book. Recapping again, that's all like 1,100 something questions. For the mobile app, I made a point to get a passing score in all the domains. There's two mobile apps. There's the practice one and then the test app. I focused on the CISSP study one and made a point to get a passing score in each of the domains, and then that was it. I didn't go 100% on all of them. I was like, okay, I've got over 70% on all these domains. I'm good to go. Those are the biggest things. I didn't want to spend more time than I had to on a screen, so I didn't really use that much material in the official books. I may revise my approach on another exam I'm working on, but I will have videos this time, and some will be different because these videos will be before I pass the exam or even take it. So with that, I'll see you around, and cheers. Oh, let's play. I look weird.